I'm gonna let you know right now, just front and center, I don't have a lot of nice things to say in this video. But the one thing I will give this brand is, buddy, they are consistent. Consistently shit. Snake Eyes G.I Joe Origins comes many years after the last installment of a G.I Joe movie. 8 years to be exact. That one got a 41 out of 100 by critics, which in their defense is better than the first movie, which received a 32. If you're new here, I'd like to remind you that's grown-ups territory, which is Adam Sandler in the back nine of his career territory. It's been such a long period of time since the last G.I Joe movie that I genuinely thought the franchise died with Channing Tatum. Not that he's dead, it just feels like a long time since we've heard his name. But then I realized the only reason franchises die is over money, and the last movie made almost $400 million. So here we are. This movie lost me at the 5-minute mark, and I tried to hop back on the train many times and just couldn't. The premise of Snake Eyes' background is his name, and you go, how'd he get his name? Well, he got it from a game with no rules. In the opening sequence, a mysterious bad guy breaks into the house, gives Snake Eyes' dad a pair of dice and says, if you win, you keep your life, if you lose, you die. Dad rolls the dice, gets Snake Eyes, and boom, bullet to the head. What game are we playing? Craps? Liar's dice? Yahtzee? How is rolling Snake Eyes a losing roll? In Monopoly, if I roll Snake Eyes, I get to go again. It's a good thing. It's not even like if you roll lower than me, you die. The other guy doesn't even roll. I tried Googling it and all I got was a bunch of dice puns about how shitty the movie is and vague references that rolling it is bad luck, but nothing tied to getting shot. I feel like that would have stood out. Now, there were a fair amount of things that happened immediately after this that I hated at first, but actually got cleared up when we found out that Snake Eyes was a double agent. Like him saving Tommy Batman Begins style and then being able to escape literally 100 bad guys with weapons. It makes sense if the bad guys were told to let him go to fake the undercover aspect. I'm okay with that. Similar to how I'm okay with you subscribing to my channel. More than okay with it, I would support this life choice you've made and tell you to give up other things for this. Follow your heart. What I'm not okay with is Snake Eyes waking up on a plane with no explanation of how they escaped the police. I'm not okay with the movie telling me a blind man can always tell when he's being lied to with no explanation whatsoever, and then using that parlor trick as a pivotal plot point later. And I'm not okay with all of the people in the airport with guns. I wish I had footage of this. I'm working with just the trailer here, but there's a scene where a G.I Joe lady on her way to Tokyo is cornered in the airport by a bunch of bad guys with guns. And it's like, I don't care what world this movie exists in. You're not getting guns into the airport. I mean, this is 9/11 101. No water bottles, don't say the B word, no guns. It's not that hard. Just put that scene in a different location. And this type of stuff continues the whole movie. They never really show Snake Eyes learning how to use a sword. I mean, not on the level that an expert would require. They even go as far as to have a conversation about it where he's asked, do you know how to use that? And his answer is, how hard can it be? He says, how hard can it be? That was their genius character developing his skills moment. And 10 minutes later, he's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, fighting with people who have been trained with swords since birth. Now, at this point in the movie, the audience is painfully aware that all of Snake Eyes' actions revolve around finding his father's killer. That is the point of the whole movie, really. And I won't bore you with the details. I suffered enough for both of us just watching it, but Snake Eyes gets the opportunity to confront his father's killer. He makes that guy roll the same dice that he made his father roll, and when the dice come up Snake Eyes again, the dice are loaded. Snake Eyes lets the bad guy go. Not turn him over to the police, not I hope you learned your lesson. He just lets him go. A known murderer who openly confessed he's killed so many people he hardly remembers killing Snake Eyes' father. What is that? Is that studios thinking they don't have to put in the work because it's such a big name franchise so people are gonna love their bullshit movie regardless? Which this one barely is a big name. I'm 27 and I feel like I was on the back end of people playing with action dolls or whatever they're called. They're not Pokemon cards. I knew one kid growing up who liked action figures and he was the neighborhood weird kid. He had a buzzed head and wore combat boots and had wanted to be in the military since he came out of the womb. At 13, I was very aware he went to bed thinking about killing people. That's who I associate with action figures. But the point is, no one plays with them anymore. I'm not showing up to this over that, so maybe, I don't know, they should put the slightest effort into the script. It's so bad that when this movie starts doing product placement with Hyundai cars and Black Label Scotch, you feel a sense of reprieve that the real world and its rules still exist. And my final critique of this movie is when it went from sci-fi to full-blown fantasy. Now, I'm leaving this for last because I get that this one can just be a me thing, and other people might actually love this. Oftentimes, sci-fi and fantasy mix, but G.I Joe was always a pretty hard sci-fi franchise. I even went and looked, and the first two G.I Joe movies are listed as sci-fi action. Snake Eyes is listed as sci-fi fantasy action. Why does that matter? Well, if you look past the golden jewel that can evaporate people with magic, you're still left with the Harry Potter-sized anacondas that decide man's fate based on purity of their heart. It just doesn't feel part of the G.I Joe world. It feels a part of like Mortal Kombat or something to that effect. It's not realistic in the setting we've been given. It felt like they took the name too seriously, Snake Eyes, and the writers asked themselves, how can we actually include snakes in this movie? And their answer was, oh, put ones the size of trains in it and have them accept Snake Eyes as brethren. I was so excited for this movie because it was about Snake Eyes, the character, the most mysterious, badass character of the franchise, and to leave the theater yesterday genuinely thinking that the best part of the movie was the Japanese dance party type end credits, to say I was disappointed is an understatement. So I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 10. Now, I don't want you to hear that number and think, wow, that means almost half of this movie was good. No, I want you to hear that number and think, if a derelict third grader walked into a true-false physics exam and flipped a quarter for answers, they could get a higher grade than I gave this movie. And with that note, please like this video to tell YouTube it's worth people's time, and subscribe if you haven't done so. Next week is The Green Knight, a movie that is supposed to be top-notch, so I'm looking forward to actually getting to review a movie rather than sitting here and yelling for 10 minutes. See you then.